be commentating at least for the first part of this morning. In the first race this morning, coming up soon, we've got in lane 4, St. Joseph's, in lane 5, St. Ignatius, and in lane 6, Kings. The St. Joseph's crew is Kashung Terence Tang, Oscar Petronov, TJ Delahunt Higgins, Liam Sheehy, Oliver Hunter, Alistair Beale West, Alexander Petronov, Digby Cullen, and they're coxed by Christian Harris. The St. Ignatius crew is Nicholas Van Kerwick, Felix Brown, Angus Lund, Sidney McCosker, Mikola Shamtuka, Marshall Devlin, Hugo Harper, Callan Strudwick, and Teddy Hardy is the cox. For Kings, we have Ilan Elv, Darcy Bragg, Cooper Morgan, Bill McLean, Frankie Love, Joe Russell, Yash Goyle, Hayden Duke, and they're coxed by Harry Dalgleish. That race is due to start in just a moment at 8:30. And I've just been advised that St. Joseph's have scratched, so we just have the two boats in this race, lane 5, St. Ignatius, and lane 6, Kings. Okay, so we're shortly going to see the school year 10, 4th 8, with just the two boats, as I mentioned, St. Ignatius and Kings, lanes 5 and 6. Yeah, so both crews now lined up to start. For the year 10, fourth 8, featuring St. Ignatius in lane 5, Kings in lane 6.
Race 1's underway. You got a strong start from Riverview taking the lead. Kings following closely behind. They're neck and neck to start.
So at this stage, looking like St. Ignatius just in the lead from Kings.
Just coming into the first 500, you got St. Ignatius in the lead and Kings just on their bow.
So so 3.7 seconds difference there at the 500.
Coming into the 1K now, Riverview's taken an easy, comfortable lead into the 1K. They've got 2 canvases on Kings coming into the 1K.
And at that 1K, it's St. Ignatius with 3 minutes 36.60. And Kings coming in 10.42 seconds behind. So quite a distance between them at this stage. A lot for Kings to make up. Okay, so now whilst this race is underway, race 2's on the blocks, they're ready to go. That's the year 10, third, 8. And in that, we've got Shore in lane 3, St. Joseph's lane 4, Kings lane 5, and St. Ignatius in lane 6. For Shore, we've got Tom Roxburgh, Jeremy Hughes, William Hadfield, Hamish Parry Ockenden, Luke Bulfin, Daniel Walworth, Archie Watson, Ollie Hamilton, and they're coxed by William Thompson. For St. Joseph's, Oscar Petronoff, William Carroll, Alexander Curry, Angus Scott, Isaac Smith, Liam Hill, Samson Singh, Hunter Lee Young, and the cox is Liam Sheehy. The King's crew is Jack Boyce, Benjamin Dial, Monty Douglas, Lincoln Ruparel, Reggie Thomas, Digby Huggins, Edward Arantz, Eric Farchich, and Jack Molyneux is the cox. And for St. Ignatius, their crew is Jimmy Kelly, Oliver Byan, Jamie McRae, Theodore Hennessy, Xavier Kennedy, Sam Vecchio, Zaire Forrester, Jack Edwards, Scotch O'Connor is the cox.
Race 1 just passing the 1500 now. We've got St. Ignatius coming through at a 5:28.55. Kings following behind with an 18.29 second difference between the two crews. Coming into the final 100 metres here in front of the grandstands, you've got St. Ignatius holding a comfortable lead over Kings, taking an easy victory to start the day.
And there's St. Ignatius crossing the line at 7 minutes 19.30. And Kings coming through there, just 28.96 seconds behind St. Ignatius. So a nice round of applause for both crews there, please. Race 2 is already underway. And a reminder there that we've got Shore in lane 3, St. Joseph's in lane 4, Kings in 5, St. Ignatius in 6.
Coming past the 500 now, you've got Scots in the lead at 1 minute 38.52, followed closely behind by Kings, 6.3 seconds behind. Shore, 8.7 seconds behind Kings. Race 2 coming down the course right now. We've got a bit of a timing issue, so we're just going to try our best to tell you how the race is going from the commentary box.
Well, it looks like race 2 didn't take place at all. We seem to have race 3 here, but it looks like we've had a couple of crews scratch. So we're just going from the information that we had earlier this morning. We'll obviously update you once that information gets fed to us here in the tower.
Joeys and Kings battling out through the 1500. Joeys holding 1 seat against Kings. Shaw coming through the finish line with a comfortable lead over the rest of the crowd.
Okay, so that actually is the third eight. Wait, sorry, on our live screen here, we're seeing that listed as the year 10 second eights. So there's something wrong with the live feed there, or the information on the screen. So it is what we originally called, which was Shore, St. Joseph's, Kings, St. Ignatius. Shore have taken it out the line. Okay, so we're underway with what actually is the third race. The second one wasn't scratched after all. It was just the information on the screen that we were seeing was listing it as the second eight when it was actually the third. But this is the second eight now. We've got St. Ignatius in lane 2. We've got Shore in lane 4. We've got Kings in lane 5. Scots in lane 6. St. Joseph's in lane 7.
Just going past the 500 now, we've got Shaw in the lead at a 137.51. St. Ignatius just on their tail, 0.19 seconds behind, closely followed by St. Joseph's, 1.28 seconds behind. Kings following closely on their tail with 1.3 seconds between them. Scots bringing up the end 9.27 seconds behind.
So at the 1 kilometer mark, it's St. Ignatius at 3:18.90 with Shore 0.14 seconds behind, St. Joseph's 2 seconds behind that, and then Kings coming in 4.04 seconds behind that. I'm not seeing a time for Scots at this stage. 24.22.
Coming to the 1500 now, St. Ignatius and Newington battling it out. Looks like St. Ignatius has got the lead. They're half a second ahead of Shaw, and Joey's following closely behind, 1.8 seconds behind them, and King's following closely behind that, 4.52 seconds behind. This is going to be a tight finish. Coming into the last 100 now, we've got Shaw and St. Ignatius battling it out. Joey's holding a steady third. King's looking like they're going to race down for that third place finish. You've got Shaw pulling away from St. Ignatius. They've got 4 seats on St. Ignatius. So looking like it's going to be Shaw 1, St. Ignatius 2, St. Joseph's 3, and King's 4.
So 6:43.97 there for Shore with St. Ignatius, 3.76 seconds behind, 3.83 seconds behind for St. Joseph's, and King's at 4.57. So the winning crew there for Shore was Nathan Clant, Philip Young, Angus Edwards, Finn McIntosh, Toby Dalgleish, Cooper Sparks, Sam Kearse, Owen Barnes, and the cox is Owen King. And we're lined up now for race 4, which is the Year 10 First 8. We've got in lane 2 Kings, in 3 St. Ignatius, in 4 Shore, in 5 Newington, in 6 Sydney Boys High, in 7 Scots, and in lane 8 St. Joseph's. And Scots crossing the line there. 1 minute and 3 seconds, 81, behind the winners, which were sure. Okay, we're underway with race 4.
Got a strong start by Joey's off the blocks for race 4, followed closely by Scots, looking like it's going to be a tight race to start to the 500.
In the King's Boat, we've got Arthur Zhang, Thomas Curtin, Ethan Charles Torr, Arthur Petrovich, Hugo Strangiori, Harry Hanna, Harry Mann, Henry Hunt, Edo Dawson is the Cox. St. Ignatius have got Arthur Roche, Charles Holt, Hunter Harris, Max Gordon Twaddle, Charlie Chaheen, Darcy O'Day, Xavier Dinton, Charlie O'Halloran, and the Cox there is Dax Cooley. The shore crew is Tom Armati, Oliver Wilson, Harry Ferguson, Lawson Wood, Louis Corcoran, Henry Tams, William Scammell, and Charlie Bassingthwaite. William Johnson's the Cox.
Coming into the 500 now, we've got a tight field. We've got Shaw coming through at a 133.69, followed closely by Joey's .03, King's .81, St. Ignatius .96, Newington .82, Scots 4.31, and Sydney Boys High 2.82. It's looking like a tight race between first and fifth. It's going to be a good day.
The Newington crews, Lachlan Harden, Tom Davis, Owen Charles, Jack Phillips, Ali DeHennon, Jack Carroll, Ethan Van Asperen, Ollie Cooper, and the Cox is Harry Cooper. Then we have Sydney Boys High crew, which is Ian Huang, Makil Khan, Jaden Lee, Isaac Wong, Devarsh Luthra, Aidan Feroz, Sean Handoko, Leo Chen, and their Cox is Raymond Liu. For Scots, we've got Rupert Anderson, Fergus Armour, Samuel Lowe, Hamish Atkinson, James Halley, Remy Scott, Frederick Wiley, Nathaniel Parks, Pax Stanley Loho, and the coach, I've got coach name here, Edward Manton is the coach. I don't have coaches for all the crews. In fact, very few of the crews I've got coaches listed. St. Joseph's is Sam Nash, Nicholas Huntington, Clancy Woodbridge, Sam McLean, Xavier McClay, Arlo Benjes, Connor Furness, Angus Sev, and the Cox is Christian Harris.
Just into the 1K now. It's a tight race between first and fourth. You got St. Ignatius coming through at a 3:11.68. Shaw closely behind at .03 behind. Kings 0.21, St. Joseph's 1.74, Kings 1.97, Newington 5.17, and Scots 6.84, and Sydney Boys High 7.4 seconds behind. It's looking like a tight race between first and fourth. It should come down to the finish line.
Yeah, so race 5, the third 8, they're lining up for the start in lane 2, St. Joseph's. Then we have Scots in 3, St. Joseph's second crew in lane 2. Then we have Scots in lane 3. Then we've got St. Joseph's 1 in lane 4, St. Ignatius 1 in lane 5, Shore 1 in lane 6, St. Ignatius 2 in lane 7, and Shore 2 in lane 8.
Coming into the 1500 now, it's still a tight race between first and third. St. Ignatius still holding the lead, closely followed by Kings, Shaw, and St. Joseph's following closely behind. It's looking like a tight race for first, second, and third. Should be a fun finish. Looking like a good race by the Year 10 first eights today. You've got St. Ignatius and Kings battling it out for first. Joey's holding a comfortable third. It's been a great day of racing, and looks like Shaw is holding through as well. Coming up to the line now, Kings has got the bow ball, and then it is St. Ignatius taking second. Newington Shaw taking third, and St. Joseph's taking fourth. Newington taking fifth there. Scots coming strong across the line in sixth.
So 6:25.43 there for Kings in the winner of that race. The Year 10 first eights. And we're already underway with the third eight. So just a reminder there, we've got a couple of crews from St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's in lane 2, Scots lane 3, St. Joseph's again lane 4, St. Ignatius in 5, Shore in 6, St. Ignatius in 7, and Shore in 8. St. Joseph's in lane 2, they are Will Brown, Ashton Rowe, Will Campy, Fraser Roach, Hugh Jacobs, Jet Goddard, Lachlan Comyn, Henry O'Malley with the Cox, Patrick Madden. And the Scots crew, Sam Scots have scratched apparently.
Coming past the 500 now, we've got Shaw 1 taking first, St. Joseph's 1 and St. Ignatius 1, followed closely by St. Joseph's 2 and St. Ignatius 2, it looks like.
St. Joseph's 1 is Nicholas Rowley, Lachlan Woolwell, Lucas Marning, Finn Garland, Fletcher Grenfell, Fletcher Stephen, Lachlan Farrell, Oliver France. Their Cox is George Young. St. Ignatius 1 is Alexander Briscoe, Oliver Tucker, Ralph Toohey, Max Remus, Charlie Forshaw, Jack Whitson, Patrick Cleary, Andrew Big, and the Cox is Sam Vecchio. Shore's first crew is Charlie Cooper, Harry Tyrrell, Gus Pritchard, Sam Advani, Alec Eldershaw, Elliot Gordon, Max Riddell, Dominic Walker, and the Cox is Henry Johnson. The second St. Ignatius crew is John Malone, Jacob Collins, Tom Cuscieri, Kobe Ellis, Oliver O'Carroll, Duchar Waldron, Henry Jewell, and Noah Beardmore with James Dart in the Cox's seat. And Shore 2 is Ain Yip, Jude Jansen, Nathan Borgana, Louis Kordek, Christian Chilinsky, Oliver Thompson, Graham Penfather, Daniel Chapman. With their cocks, Thomas Mann.
Coming into 1K there, we've got St. Joseph's 1 holding the lead, closely followed by Shaw and St. Ignatius 1. St. Joseph's coming through at a 3:19.68, Shaw 0.83 seconds behind them, and St. Ignatius 1 following closely behind 1.82 seconds.
And they're lining up to start race 6, which is the 4th Ford. In lane 1, we have Newington. In lane 2, Scots. Shore in lane 3, we are told has scratched. Sydney Grammar in lane 4. St. Joseph's 2 in lane 5. St. Joseph's lane 6. King's lane 7. St. Ignatius lane 8. And Shore in lane 9. So we just had an update that St. Joseph's have scratched. Okay. So yeah, St. Joseph's 2 in lane 5, we believe have now scratched.
Third 8 coming now into the final line. You've got St. Joseph's, St. Ignatius, and Shaw battling it out for third. Looks like St. Ignatius is holding the bow ball of Joey's. Joey's holding second and Shaw holding third, but it looks like Shaw is pushing to the line. Should be a tight finish. Joey's kicking hard. Looks like St. Ignatius will be able to hold out. As St. Ignatius finishing first at 6:44.95. St. Joseph following closely behind, 0.59 seconds behind that. And Shaw coming in third, 1.36 seconds behind that. The fourth four is underway now. We've got Joey's first, Shaw second, and it looked like Newington in third. Great start by those boys. That was Joey's first in 1:42.4. St. Ignatius 2.5 seconds behind them. Shaw third, Kings fourth, Newington fifth, and Scots sixth, coming through the 500 for the fourth four.
For Newington, the crews, Tom Dunstan, Henry Eversgard, Archie Downs, Harvey Drew, and their cox is Toby Stewart. Scots, we got Teddy Alvarez Garcia, Anton James Ludfi, Marcus Lamb, Tennyson Boers, and Angus Fletcher is the cox. Sydney Grammer, Oliver Keller, Matthew Sanderson, Jaden Arav, Raphael McNeil Chapman, and Edwin Wu is their cox. St. Joseph's, we've got William Bailey, Samuel Lonergan, Thomas Smith, Connor Hopkins with the cox, Cooper Watkins. Kings, we've got Devin Majvadia, Archie Farah, Jock McGrath, Wiley Leahy, Arjun Trivedi is the cox. And then from St. Ignatius, we've got Thomas Burton, George Bateman, Archer Love, William Brown, and their cox is Thomas Brednam. The shore crews, Michael Hawking, Campbell Binney, Henry Fuzes, and Peter Kominakis. The cox is Seb Cheers.
Coming through the 1K now for the fourth fours. We've got St. Ignatius holding the lead, 3 minutes, 29 seconds. Followed closely by St. Joseph's, 3.29 seconds behind. Shaw coming third, Kings fourth, Newington fifth, and Scott sixth. Coming to the 1500 now. St. Ignatius looking like they're holding a comfortable lead, followed closely by St. Joseph's coming in second, and it's looking like those two will take a comfortable first, second, and that is Shaw coming through in third, chasing down St.
Meanwhile, back at the start, race 7 lined up, ready to go. In lane 2, Shore. In lane 3, Sydney Grammer. In lane 4, St. Ignatius. Lane 5, St. Joseph's. Lane 6, Newington. Lane 7, Kings. Lane 8 is Scots, and that's the third for race 7, which is now underway.
St. Ignatius looking like they're taking a comfortable lead coming to the last 100 metres of the race. It's a battle between Shaw and St. Joseph's for third and second. And King's looking like they'll take a comfortable fourth, Newington taking fifth, and Scots taking sixth. St. Ignatius coming strong across the line with a 7:08.69. Joey's holding out second, and Shaw coming in third. St. Joseph's was 11.33 seconds behind, Shaw 2.13 seconds behind them. King's holding fourth, 20.76 seconds behind them. Newington taking fifth, 8.06 seconds behind them. And Scots taking sixth.
Okay, so back to race 7, the third four, which, as you know, is already underway. So the Shore crew there is Hugh Riley, Henry Smith, Xavier Coker, Taj Robertson, Austin Anderson as the cocks. In Sydney Grammar's boat, we've got Marcus Shipway, Maximilian McKnight, Jarrett Kwan, and Ashil Huang with Liam Barr coxing. St. Ignatius have Sidney Roche, Alexander Raymond Nash, Kieran Dennis, Angus Field with the cocks, Samuel Keane. St. Joseph's crew is Nicholas Campy, Julius Alum, Jed Holgate, Marco Farnes. Their cox is Cooper Chan. Newington's crew is Aaron Koo, Joshua Cronin, Tom Perrott, Arnold Lee with the cox, Noah Clayton. For Kings, we've got Charlie Jones, Henry Pegam, Jack Webster, Lachlan Arentz, Digny Norton Knight is the cox. And the Scots crew, Hugo Duplessis, Eric Johansson, Nick Phillips, June Ho, Kevin, I should say, and the cox is Ardeshir Chan.
Coming into the 1K now for the third four, we've got St. Ignatius holding the lead with 3.26.22, Shaw holding second, 2.96 seconds behind them. Third, St. Joseph's, fourth, Kings, Newington in fifth, and Scots in sixth.
They're also now lined up for the next race, race 8, which is the second four. And in that race, we'll have Kings in lane 2, Sydney Grammar in 3, St. Joseph's in 4, Scots in 5, St. Ignatius in 6, Newington 7, and Shore in lane 8. And I'll give you those crew names in just a moment.
Coming to the 1500 now, St. Ignatius holding a comfortable lead, 5 minutes, 12 seconds and 52 milliseconds. Shaw holding second, 7.59 seconds behind them. And St. Joseph's holding third. Coming into the final 100 metres now, it looks like St. Ignatius is holding a comfortable lead for first. It's going to be a battle for second between St. Joseph's and Shaw. And King's chasing down St. Joseph's. That's St. Ignatius crossing the line with a comfortable lead, 7 minutes and .95. Shaw taking second, 7.63 seconds behind them. And it looks like St. Joseph's will be able to hold through the line. And that is St. Joseph's third and King's fourth. That is Newington taking fifth and Scots crossing the line in sixth.
Well, cutting back to this second four, race 8, which is already underway. In the King's boat, we've got Will Ralph, Lachlan Cable, Denver Purdon, Sam Watt, Oliver Forrester is the Cox. Sydney Grammer, we've got Charles Castaldi, George Wilson, Dashiell Huang, Samuel Lai, and their Cox is Liam Barr. St. Joseph's, we have Thomas Sev, Finn Clare, Vincent McAllister, Angus Falk. The Cox is Zachary Taylor. Scots crew is Toby Hayes, Charles Carmody, Conrad Lowe, Thomas Irvin, Henry McCausland is the Cox. For St. Ignatius, we've got Oliver Eisenhower, Ben Walker, Samuel Barry, Harry Walker, Nicholas Colbert is the Cox. Newington's crew is Connor Hunter, Aidan Evans, Silas Allen, Ashton Tulipan, and they're coxed by Dylan Henry. And then finally in the shore boat, we've got Christopher Young, Micah Minchin, Xavier DeVernay, Matthew Regatta, and they're coxed by Alex Gulbin.
Second four coming through the 1500 now. We've got St. Ignatius holding a lead, 5 minutes 13.82. Shaw holding second, 3.22 seconds behind St. Ignatius. And St. Joseph's holding third, 4.10 seconds behind.
And at the start, they're lined up for race 9, which is the first four. In that race, we'll have Kings in lane 1, then Sydney Grammer in 2. Lane 3 will be Shore. Lane 4, Newington. Sydney Boys High in 5. St. Ignatius in 6. Lane 8 is St. Joseph's. And I'm informed that Scots, who would have been in lane 7, have scratched from this race.
Coming to the final 100 metres here, we've got St. Ignatius and Shaw battling it out for first, and St. Joseph and Kings battling it out for second and third. It's going to be a tight race here. St. Ignatius currently holding the lead, but Shaw pushing hard. It's going to come down to the line. Currently, St. Ignatius has got the lead. Looks like St. Ignatius will take the win for the second four. That was a 6:58.82 for St. Ignatius, followed closely behind by Shaw, 5.3 seconds, 0.53 seconds, sorry, that's my bad. And St. Joseph's holding third, 14.8 seconds behind them. Kings taking fourth. And it is a battle between Scots and Newington for fifth. Looks like Newington is pulling away, so that will be Newington fifth, Scots sixth. And it looks like the weather is clearing up for the first four. The sun is breaking through. Might pie past the rain today.
So as a rower then, Ewan, is that something you'd want to see if you were out there today? Would you rather row in totally overcast conditions, or is a bit of blue sky coming through something you would want to see as a rower?
A bit of blue sky is never bad to see as a rower. You just hope that the heat doesn't come through.
Yep.
It's been quite nice conditions this morning, not too much of a breeze on the course, so the boys have got quite nice conditions.
And of course, figuratively, you always want to see blue sky, but not too blue a sky and not too hot conditions if you're actually rowing.
And that is the first four is underway now, about to come through the 500. Coming through the 500 now for the first four. It is a close race between St. Ignatius and Shaw. Joey's following closely behind Kings and Newington. It is a tight race between first and fifth. Should be an interesting race for the first four. And Sydney Grammar pulling sixth.
And so in lane one, the King's crew is Nicholas Walsh, Max McGraw, Henry Harvey, Prem Sriram, Keshon Jayasuriya, and he's the Cox. And then we've got Sydney Grammer, Zach Wee, Atticus Lee, Jackson Woolham, Alexander Randall, and they're Cox by Dylan Ruddock. And for sure, we've got Bryden McDonald, Rupert Forrester, Ryan Doherty, Will Reid, and their Cox is Eddie Brooks. Newington, the crew is Jeremy Cooper, Rory Begg, Rocco McConnell, Nicholas Softsis, and their Cox by Hugo Lonergan. Sydney Boys High is Leo Hang, James Carmichael, Vincent Wang, Michael Truong, and Coxed by Jensen Lim. St. Ignatius, we have Ignatius Babbage Hockey, Matthew Beeman, Harrison Pullen, James Davis, and their Cox is Zach Burton. And then St. Joseph's in lane 8, we've got Ari Geach, Edward Reinhardt, George Graham, Oliver Gainsford, with the Cox being Noah Bellantonio.
Coming through the 1K now, St. Ignatius and Shaw, battling it out for first, and Joey's holding third, and it looks like Kings has got their bow ball on St. Joseph's stern, battling out for fourth. St. Ignatius coming through the 1K in 3 minutes 42.52. Shaw 0.95 seconds behind. St. Joseph's 5.23. Kings 2.67. Newington 4.46. And Sydney Grammar 15.64.
And apologies, the King's crew, I think I mispronounced a couple of the names. Prem Sivagangabalan is one of the crew there, and the other one was Keshon Jayasuriya, so apologies for mispronouncing those names initially.
Coming through the 1500 now, it looks like St. Ignatius is holding the lead. 5 minutes 10.78. Shaw 2.85 seconds behind. And St. Joseph's holding third, 7.74 seconds behind them. It's looking like a tight race between St. Ignatius and Shaw in the first four today. Just passing through the 1750 now, just in front of the grandstands, we've got St. Ignatius holding a lead and Shaw still chasing them down, and it looks like Joey's is holding third. It's been a great race between St. Ignatius and Shaw, and it should come down to the line.
Race 10, they're at the start, ready to go, and that race will be starting quite soon.
We've got St. Ignatius looking like they're taking the lead. They've got a boat length on Shaw, so it is looking like it will be St. Ignatius 1 and Shaw 2. Kings kicking in the last 100 metres, chasing down Joey's. Joey's has got to hold out for third. And that was St. Ignatius 6 minutes and 56 seconds, 0.57. Shaw 4.74 seconds behind St. Ignatius. St. Joseph's taking third, 10.45 seconds behind them, and King's taking fourth. And Newington crossing the line in fifth.
Race 10, the second eights will be getting underway. They're at the start now, lined up. In lane 1, we've got Kings. Lane 2, we have Newington. Lane 3, Scots. Lane 4, Shore. Sydney Boys High in lane 5. Sydney Grammar in lane 6. Lane 7 is St. Joseph's. Lane 8, St. Ignatius. We'll give you the names of the crews in just a moment.
And the second eight off. A strong start by St. Ignatius, and Joey's taking the lead, and it looks like Shaw is also pulling through.
So the crews in this race, for Kings, we've got Massimo Fitzsimon, Dave King, Harry Irving, Jeremy Blatchford, Hugo Yates, Oscar Parsons, Charlie Camilleri, Jay Dwight, and the Cox is Troy Graham. Newington crew is Mitchell Smith, Jed Robertson, Andrew Cominos, William Chanter, Rowan Cottishane, Nick Byrne, Theo Downing, and Jasper Pattinson. with the Cox Lachlan Ha. The Scots crew is Hugo Denopoli Long, George Little, Thomas Tyson, Noah Perry, Hudson Meek, Edward Green, James Dunbar, Max Prout, Zach Sperring is the Cox. Shore, it's Alex Rogan, Ed McDonald, Lachlan McIntosh, Austin Hamilton, Ollie Kosh, Charlie Glancy, Alistair Curry, Liam Kennedy, with the Cox being Will Gandy.
Coming into the 500 now, it is a close race between first and fifth. We've got Shaw taking the lead with 1 minute 28.06. St Ignatius just behind 0.46. St Joseph's 1.02. Newington 0.96. Kings 2.03. Scots 2.47. Sydney Boys High 3.34 and Sydney Grammar 1.38. It is a tight race between first and fifth for the second 8.
The Sydney Boys High crew is Ethan He, George Mermelis, Jet Su Liu, Lloyd Zhang, Leon Liu, Thai trainer Benjamin Dang, Alexander Lau, and the Cox is Lucas Wang. For Sydney Grammar, we've got Benjamin Lee, Ryan Wu, Will Armstrong, Harry Snow, Yul Heo, Thomas Kim, Kai Holland, Christopher Wu, and TJ Abdel Sayed is the Cox. The St. Joseph's crew, Samuel Spork, Thomas Foster, George Wall, Tate Fredrickson, Jackson Gordon, Rocco Densley, River Phelps, Lexington Spies, and Darcy Willis is the Cox. And finally, the St. Ignatius crew is Luke Delaney, Thomas Roche, Harry Christie, Benjamin Eisenhower, Thomas Tancred, Henry McRae, Oliver Taylor, Thomas McClintock, and Ryan McNulty is the Cox.
Just passing through the 1K now, we've got Shaw holding the lead, 3 minutes 02.56. St. Ignatius 1.02. St. Joseph's closely behind St. Ignatius 0.59. Kings 2.70. Newington closely behind them 0.49. Sydney Grammar 13.93. And Sydney Boys High 0.71 behind. It is a close race currently between Sydney Grammar and Sydney Boys High. Coming up to the 1500 now, we've got Shaw holding first, St. Joseph's in second, and St. Ignatius in third. It is a close race between St. Ignatius and Joey's. They're trading bow balls. Kings holding fourth, and Newington in fifth. Shaw holding a comfortable lead throughout the race, and it is looking like they can hold it through the rest of the race. Coming up to the line now, it is a close race between first, second and third. We've got Shaw currently holding the lead, and St. Ignatius and Joey's currently trading bow walls. King's pulling through in fourth, closely chased down by Newington. It is looking like Shaw has got a canvas on Joey's. St. Ignatius is pushing against Joey's, and Joey's is building to the line. That is Shaw 1, Joey's 2, and St. Ignatius 3. Shaw coming through 6 minutes 12.16. St. Joseph's 2.12. St. Ignatius closely behind 0.38. King's 7.09. Newington 4.47. Scots in 6, and it looks like Sydney Grammar has pulled away from Sydney Boys High, taking 7th.
And the first 8, race 11, is underway with Scots in lane 1, St. Joseph's in lane 2, St. Ignatius in 3, Newington in 4, Sydney Boys High in 5, Sydney Grammar in 6, Kings in 7, Shore in lane 8.
Coming into the 500 now, it is looking like St. Joseph's has got the lead, followed closely by Shaw, Newington, Kings, St. Ignatius. Here's the list now. We've got St. Joseph's in first, Shaw second, St. Ignatius third, Kings fourth, Sydney Grammar fifth, Newington sixth, Scots seventh, and Sydney Boys High eighth.
In the Scots boat, we've got Maxwell Crawford, Hugo De Napoli Long, Hamish Marr, Hugh Anderson, Henry Marion, Thomas Beck, Dean Lowe, Max Berkelow. Charlie Cameron is the Cox. And in the Sir Joseph's boat, Henry Campbell, Kaja Knevitt, Raphael Cousins, Christian Tripolone, Thomas Curran, Fred O'Hara, Louis Benuska, Joseph Lane with the Cox, Jonathan Yates. St. Ignatius, we have Noah Coble, Jack Hare, Boston Kirby, William Bryant, Banjo Metcalf, Hamish Walker, Hugo Brown, Julian Carr, coxed by James Stack. Newington, we have Will Gillespie Penny, Lewin Whitaker, Charles Old, Hugh Jones, Nicholas Trewethi, Tristan McDonald, Lucas van der Westhuizen, Nico Colantino, and the Cox is Hugo Baker. I'll come back to you with the rest of the names in just a moment.
Coming through the 1,000 now, St. Joseph's holding the lead, coming through 2 minutes 57.65, Shaw 2.82, St. Ignatius closely behind Shaw, 0.08 seconds, so there's a close race between Shaw and St. Ignatius. Kings 3.55, Newington 3.21, Sydney Grammar holding close on Newington, 0.79 behind them, Scots 1.75, and Sydney Boys High 6.37. It's going to be a close race between Newington and Grammar, as well as Shaw and St. Ignatius.
The Sydney Boys High crew is Ethan Wilkinson, Lyndon Chow, Andrew Gu, Jun Shin, Gabriel Sanzang, and Max McLeod, Roy Zhang, Roman Samsonov, and the Cox is Thomas Zhang. Sydney Grammar are crewed by Diamond Leonard, Harry Lee, Daniel Hall, Jeremy Court, Archer McBurney, William Stumbles, Joe Lenigan, Anton Peramel, and their Cox is Ian Byrer. Kings, Sam McLean, Nicholas Plattis, Gus Collins, Duke Millward, Hamish Matthews, Jack Hall, Lockie Rogers, Lockie Tyndall, and the Cox is Otto Gerber. And finally, the Shore crew, Luke Robinson, George Scammell, Harry Faulkner, Ben McHutchinson, Henry Roxburgh, Sam Bowman, Toby Crowther, Oliver Paris, and the Cox is Oscar Miller.
Coming through the 1500 now, St. Joseph's holding the lead, coming through 4 minutes 30.9. St. Ignatius closely behind, 0.76. Shaw 1.1. Kings 6.8. Newington 5.07. Sydney Grammar 1.03. Scots 1.92. And Sydney Boys High 8.19. Looking like a close race between St. Joseph's and St. Ignatius, and Shaw holding third. Coming up to the line now, it is a very close race between first, second and third, and the crowd on the bank is cheering them on. It's looking like Joe's has currently got the lead, but closely chased down by Shaw. Looks like Shaw will take the victory there. St. Joseph's closely behind, and St. Ignatius taking third. Kings taking a comfortable fourth, and it is a battle between Scots and Sydney Grammar for sixth and seventh. And it looks like Newington will take fifth, Sydney Grammar will take sixth, Scots will take seventh, and Sydney Boys High will take eighth. Great race between first, second and third in the first 8.
Yep. Okay, so we now have a break. The next race will be at 10:10. That is race 12. That will be the year 10 fourth 8, and that will be coming up at 10:10.
Welcome back from the break, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your quick little break from racing. We're starting back off with the Year 10 4th 8, and it looks like we have a scratching from St. Joseph's, so it'll just be St. Ignatius and Kings battling out to start off the rest of the races.
So yeah, just the two boats in this race, lane 4 and lane 5, St. Ignatius and Kings. No changes to the crew from last time round that we're aware of.
The Year 10 4th 8 are underway now, and it looks like St. Ignatius is pulling away from Kings in the first few strokes. just passing the 1K now. St. Ignatius in the lead, about 3 canvases ahead of Kings. Strong start by St. Ignatius.
So as we move into the second half of the morning, and we're going through the races again. So if you, Kieran, as a rower yourself, if you were with your coach during the interim and you hadn't performed so well in the first half of the morning, what would your coach be saying to you? What would the sort of conversations that would be happening between coach and crew during that break period?
Yeah, I reckon between the races, coaches will be looking to motivate their rowers, encouraging the boys to stick to their pattern, stick to what they've planned and trained for each week, and just making sure that the boys stay fluid, stay connected, keep their heads up. And it's not the first race that decides your result. It's keeping together, pushing through as a crew. And that's also what's so powerful about rowing, is it builds that team connection between the boys.
Okay, thanks.
Coming in the last final meters here, St. Ignatius holding good form for the Year 10 4th 8, powering through, staying connected as a crew, and finishing off the day strong.
So 7 minutes, 9 seconds, 44 for St. Ignatius. And King's coming through 42.82 behind St. Ignatius.
Year 10 third 8 is now underway. That is lane 3 St. Ignatius, lane 4 St. Joseph's, lane 5 Kings, and lane 6 Shaw. And it is looking like a tight start between St. Joseph, St. Ignatius, and Shaw. Coming into the first 500 now of the Year 10 third 8. It is St. Ignatius Shaw and St. Joseph's first, second and third, and Kings in fourth. Coming through the 1K now for the Year 10 third aid. We've got Shaw in first with 3 minutes 21.31. St. Ignatius and in second, and St. Joseph's in third. It is a tight race between Shaw and St. Ignatius for first. Coming into the 1500 now, we've got a close race between Shaw and St. Ignatius. Shaw has got a canvas on St. Ignatius going through the 1500. Shaw coming through in 5:03.15. It's a tight race, and it should be an interesting finish between the two. Coming into the final 100 metres here, Shaw holding out first, Newington chasing them down, but it looks like Shaw is going to hold that canvas lead into the finish.
Shore at 6:43.67. 5.77 for St. Ignatius. And 23.26 behind the winners for St. Joseph's. And finally, King's coming through at 8.77.
The year 10 second 8 is underway. Lane 2, we've got Kings. Lane 3, Shore. Lane 4, Scots. Lane 5, St. Joseph. A scratching in lane 6 for Sydney Boys High. And in lane 7, St. Ignatius. Going through the 500 now for the year 10 second 8. In first, we've got Kings at a minute 39.09. Second, St. Ignatius. Third, Shore. And fourth, St. Joseph's. Fifth, Scott. Tight racing between St. Joseph's, Shore, and St. Ignatius, and Shore and St. Ignatius battling it out for first and second within the first 500 metres. For the year 10 second 8, crossing the 1K mark now, we've got Kings holding first with 3 minutes 22.17, Shore closely behind, and St. Ignatius battling it out against Shore. It's looking like a tight race between Shore and St. Ignatius, trading balls down the course. Going through the 1500 now, Kings holding a steady lead with 5 minutes 02.99. Shaw pulling ahead of St. Ignatius, and St. Ignatius holding third, and St. Joseph's holding fourth. Looks like Shaw is pulling away through the 1500. Coming into the last 100 metres now, it is Kings and Shaw battling it out for first, trading barrel balls, sitting seat for seat. It's looking like it's going to be a tight finish, getting cheered on by the bank. And it's looking like Shaw is pulling away. Shaw has got 1 seat, 2 seat, and it is their 2 seats sitting on the barrel ball, so that will be Shaw first. Kings second, St. Ignatius holding off St. Joseph's, putting a canvas on them. And that is Shaw with a 640.35, Kings in second, St. Ignatius in third, and St. Joseph's in fourth. Race 15 is lined up in the blocks. That is the Year 10 First 8. Lane 2, St. Joseph's. Lane 3, Sydney Boys High. Lane 4, Kings. Lane 5, Scots. Lane 6, Newington, a scratching. And lane 7 for Shaw. And lane 8, St. Ignatius. Coming through the 500 now for the Year 10 First 8. Kings holding the lead, closely challenged by St. Ignatius and Newington and St. Joseph's battling it out for third and fourth. And St. Ignatius putting the pressure on Kings in the first 500. Shaw and Sydney Boys High in fourth and fifth. Going through the 1K now, St. Ignatius taking the lead. Kings followed closely behind, about half a length. St. Ignatius and Joey still battling each other for third and fourth, and Scots coming fifth as of the 1K. Coming through the 1500 now, St. Ignatius holding the lead. Kings in second, Newington in third. St. Joseph's battling Newington for third, and Scots in fifth.
So a round of applause there for sure is Year 10, Second 8, currently on the podium. Mr. Graham Patterson down there to present the medals. So a nice round of applause and cheer there for Shore Second 8.
And back to the Year 10 First 8, we've got St. Ignatius holding a strong lead against Kings. It is looking like Kings is sitting on the bow of St. Ignatius, and St. Ignatius will take the win with a 6:23.91. Kings in second, and is looking like a battle between Newington and Joey's for third, but it looks like Newington will pull away with Joey's bow ball sitting at the cock seat of Newington. Just another round of applause for the Shore Year 10 Second 8 on their win. Currently underway, going up to the 500, is race 16, the third 8. That is lane 2, St. Joseph's 1, lane 3, St. Ignatius 1, lane 4, St. Joseph's 2, a scratching from Scots in lane 5, St. Ignatius 2 in lane 6, lane 7, Shaw 1, and lane 8, Shaw 2. And going through the 500 there, St. Ignatius 1 with the lead, St. Joseph's 2 in second, Shaw 1 in third, and Shaw 2 in fourth.
So St. Ignatius, Year 10 First 8 at the podium for the presentation of their medals. Nice round of applause and cheer for them, please.
Going through the 1K now for the third 8. It is a tight race for first, second and third, with St. Ignatius 1 holding the lead, closely challenged by St. Joseph's 2 and Shaw 1. It is going to be a tight race and only a few seat difference between the first 3. Coming up to the 1500 now for the third 8. St. Ignatius holding the lead, putting a canvas on St. Joseph's, and St. Joseph's holding a canvas on Shaw. St. Ignatius 1 going through in 5 minutes, .46, and St. Joseph's following closely behind, and Shaw sitting right on their tail as well. It's going to be a nice finish for the top 3. Coming into the last 100 metres here, St Ignatius holding a canvas on Joey's. Joey's holding second and Shaw holding third. Strong finish by the year 10, by the third 8. Great racing by the boys today.
6:42.25 for St Ignatius 1. Another 4 seconds 56 for St Joseph's 2. Then Shore 1. 3:85 after that. And Shore crossing the line in 4th place.
Underway now, just leaving the blocks, coming up to the 750 is the 4th 4. Lane 1, Kings. Lane 2, St Joseph's. Lane 3, Scots. A scratching from St Joseph's 2 in lane 4. Lane 5 is Shaw. Sydney Grammar, lane 6. Scratching in lane 7 from Shaw. Lane 8, St Ignatius. Lane 9, Newington.
And at the 1 kilometre mark, St Ignatius at 3:31.92, St Joseph's 1:24 behind that. Shore then in 3rd place at 3 seconds 32 behind St Joseph's. And a nice round of applause and a cheer there for Shore, receiving their medals.
Going through the 1500 now, St Ignatius in first, coming through in 5 minutes 19.77. St Joseph's following closely behind. Shaw battling it against St Joseph's, and Kings in 4th.
And St. Ignatius receiving their medals for their win in the third eight from Reverend Conrad Nixon. And a nice round of applause and a cheer for St. Ignatius.
Come into the last 100 meters now. St. Ignatius holding it together as a crew to take the win, and Shaw pushing on Joey's, putting their bow ball on Joey's astern, but it's looking like Joey's 2, Shaw 3. And that is St. Ignatius crossing the line in 7:08.33, Shaw in second. My apologies, St. Joseph's in second, Shaw in third. Kings taking 4. Newington taking 5th in the 4-4. And Scots bringing 5th. Currently underway is the third 4. Lane 1, St. Ignatius. Lane 2, Shaw. Lane 3, St. Joseph's. Lane 4, Kings. Lane 5, Newington. Lane 6, Scots. Passing through the 500 now for the third 4. You've got St. Ignatius in first, coming through in 1:41.70. Shaw followed closely behind, tailed by St. Joseph. Kings going neck and neck against St. Joseph's, battling it for third. Newington 4th. Scots 6th. Sorry, my apologies. Newington 5th. Scots 6th. And Sydney Grammar 7th. Going through the 1K now, St. Ignatius holding that lead, coming through in 3:26.75. Shaw followed closely behind, tailed by St. Joseph. Kings pushing on St. Joseph's stern. Newington in 5th, Scots in 6th. Coming through the 1500 now for the third four, St. Ignatius holding a strong lead, followed by Shaw, St. Joseph's, Kings and Newington. Looking like a strong race by the St. Ignatius third four.
And the St. Ignatius fourth four just coming to the podium, or at least three of them are. Well, four of them, in that the Cox is there, but one of the crew is currently missing. We're not sure where he is, but their medals will be presented shortly.
Coming across the line now, 100 metres to go for the third four. St. Ignatius holding that strong lead as they have the whole race. Shaw holding a strong second, connecting as a crew across the line. That is St. Ignatius crossing line in a 6:58.10. Shaw taking a strong second place, 8.5 seconds behind them. Kings pushing towards the line to try and take on Joey's, but it looks like Joey's will just hold through to take third, and Kings will take fourth. Great racing by the third fours.
And Scots coming there, 28 seconds behind Newington. So medals there being presented to the fourth four from St. Ignatius. Believe Tommy Burton's not with them at the moment, but George Bateman, Archer Love, William Brown, and Thomas Brennan, the Cox, all there.
Heading down the course now in race 19 is the second four. Lane 1, St. Ignatius, my apologies. Lane 3, St. Ignatius. Lane 6, Kings. Lane 7, St. Joseph's. Lane 2, Newington. Lane 4, Scots. And that is also the order as they went through the 500. So that is St. Ignatius coming through in a 1:41.06. Kings in a 2.54, St. Joseph's 1.49, Newington 4.32, and Scots 1.08. Second four coming up to the 1K now. St. Ignatius holding their lead, coming through in 3:26.30. Shaw coming in closely behind, holding a canvas behind St. Ignatius. Kings sitting half a boat length down. St. Joseph's a canvas, and Newington sitting just behind St. Joseph's.
And as the St. Ignatius 4-4 crew row away, thanks to, I'm not sure the name of the crew member from shore who's jumped down there and jumped on board to help them row the boat away, but thanks to shore for that. Now on the podium, the third four from St. Ignatius to receive their medals. And that's Sidney Roche, Alexander Raymond Nash, Kieran Dennis, Angus Field, and the Cox, Samuel King. Receiving their medals from Mr. Graham Pattison.
Second four coming into the 1500 now. St. Ignatius holding that strong lead, but Shaw is closely chasing them down with their bow ball sitting on the 3 seat. Kings holding third, and St. Joseph's coming fourth. As we come into the final 100 meters here, it looks like Shaw is pulling away from St. Ignatius, kicking in as a crew and building towards the finish line. And it looks like Shaw might be taking the bow ball of St. Ignatius, taking that canvas length that they want. Coming together strong, taking a strong finish as a crew. And that will be Shaw 1, St. Ignatius 2. Kings in 3. St. Joseph's in 4th. Newington in 5th. And Scots in 6th. Coming down the course now is the first four. Lane 1, Scots. Lane 2, Sydney Boys High. Lane 3, Sydney Grammar. Lane 4, Newington. Lane 5, St. Ignatius. Lane 6, St. Joseph's. Lane 7, Shaw. And lane 8, Kings. And it looks like we have a scratching again from Scots' first 4 in lane 1. Just going past the 1K now for the first 4. Holding a strong lead is St. Ignatius, followed by Shaw, and St. Joseph chasing down Shaw to try and get that second place through the 1K.
Just approaching the podium now is the Shore crew, the second 4 of Christopher Young, Micah Minchin, Xavier Duvernay, Matthew Regatta, and their cox Alex Gulbin. They'll shortly be receiving their medals. A round of applause for Shore second 4.
Coming past the 1K now in, my apologies, the 1500. St. Ignatius holding a commandable lead, and Shaw and St. Joseph's battling it out for third, coming through the 1500 there. Coming into the last 100 metres of the first 4 for today. The St. Ignatius crew holding good team connection, holding through at the finish and getting a strong finish to the race. Looks like Shaw is pulling away from Joey's, putting a length and a half on Joey's, so that will be St. Ignatius first, Shaw second, St. Joseph's third, and St. Ignatius crossing the line in 6:50.08, Shaw crossing in 6:57.39, and St. Joseph's 6.42 seconds behind them. Currently lined up at the blocks now is the second 8, Lane 1, Newington, Lane 2, Sydney Boys High, Lane 3, Sydney Grammar, Lane 4, Scots, Lane 5, Shaw, Lane 6, St Ignatius, Lane 7, Kings, Lane 8, St Joseph's. And the second 8 have just raced off, and it looks like a strong start from St Joseph, Kings, St Ignatius and Shaw, pulling ahead in the first few strokes as they start the race.
And the first 4 from St Ignatius just approaching the podium for the presentation of their medals. And so St Ignatius first 4 of Ignatius Babbage Hockey, Matthew Bowman, Harrison Pullen, James Davis, and their cocks Zach Burton just being presented their medals by Dr. Ian Lambert, Principal of Scots College. Nice round of applause, please, and a cheer for St Ignatius first 4.
Coming into the 500 now for the second 8. Holding a commendable lead is St Ignatius, followed closely by Shaw. St Joseph's tailing Shaw, putting their bow ball in a scary reach. Kings in 4th, 5th Newington, Scots in 6th, Sydney Grammar 7th, and Sydney Boys High 8th. And it looks like there is a battle between St Joseph's and Shaw for 2nd, as well as Newington and Kings for 4th as they go through the 500. Just passing through the 1K now for the second 8. St Ignatius holding that strong lead. Shaw tailing them, putting their bow ball halfway through the boat. St Joseph's holding 3rd. Newington 4th. Kings still battling Newington for 4th. Scots in 6th. Sydney Grammar 7th. And Sydney Boys High 8th. Coming up to the 1500 now, and Shaw has taken the bow ball of St. Ignatius, so it is now Shaw first, St. Ignatius second, and St. Joseph's third, followed closely by Newington and the Kings. And it looks like Kings and Newington are still battling it for fourth. Coming into the final 100 meters now, it is going to be a tight finish between first, second and third, and that is Shaw, St. Ignatius and St. Joseph's. It looks like Shaw has currently got a lead against St. Ignatius. Looks like they've got 3 seats on St. Ignatius, and there is a canvas between St. Ignatius and St. Joseph's. That is Shaw to take the win. St. Ignatius 2 seats behind. St. Joseph's taking third. Newington holding a strong fourth. Kings coming together as a crew to take fifth.
Scots crossing the line there in 6th. Grammar coming through there in 7th. Sydney Boys High coming in 8th place. Shore in 6 minutes, 9 seconds, 94, and 0.56 of a second behind for second place.
Just leaving the blocks now is the first 8. Taking a strong lead off those first few strokes is the Scots College, St. Joseph's College and Newington. And St. Ignatius holding strong in, and those are the top 4 boats as they leave the blocks. Coming up to the 500 now in the first 8. It is a very tight race. Newington and Shaw battling out, trading bow balls. Joey's putting their bow ball on the bow seat of those 2 crews, followed closely by Scots and St. Ignatius. coming up to the 1K now. It looks like Shaw and Newington are still trading bow balls. St. Joseph's coming through. That is Kings on the far end of the river there. Scots, St. Ignatius, and Sydney Grammar.
And on the podium now, it's the second 8 from Shore, being presented with their medals by Dr. Ian Lambert, the principal of the Scots College. The Shore crew is Alex Rogan, Ed McDonald, Lachlan McIntosh, Austin Hamilton, Ollie Kosh, Charlie Glancy, Alistair Curry, Liam Kennedy, and their cocks, Will Gandy. Big round of applause there for the Shore second 8.
Coming through the 1500 now for the first 8. It is Shaw in the lead. It looks like St. Ignatius second, St. Joseph's third, Kings battling against St. Joseph's third, Scots in fourth. In first we have Newington coming through in 4:43.38. Coming to the line now, with the last 250 meters to go, there is a strong battle. It looks like Shaw is currently holding the lead. St. Ignatius and St. Joseph's are battling each other for second. It looks like Kings is fourth and Scots is fifth. It has been a good race by the first 8. Taking a strong lead is the Shaw School, being chased down by Riverview, who's putting their bow ball on their 7 seat. St. Joseph's battling it against Kings for third. As it comes down to the line, it looks like Shaw will be able to pull away, making that Shaw first, Riverview second, and a strong pull through by Joey's to take third. Finishing fourth is Kings. And there's a race between Newington and the Scots College for fifth. Scots looking like they're about to pull through. Scots taking the strong finish for fifth. 6th, Newington. 7th, Sydney Grammar. 8th, Sydney Boys High, and it looks like we're going to a photo finish for St. Joseph's and Kings to decide third and fourth.
So we're still waiting for a result in that race for third and fourth between St. Joseph's and King's. We're still seeing that it's a photo. And we'll let you know as soon as we have the information coming up here. Just still showing his photo for that particular race for third and fourth place. In the meantime, approaching the podium, the first 8 from shore about to receive their medals. So receiving their medals now from Dr. Ian Lambert, the principal of the Scots College, is the shore first 8. And they are Luke Robinson, George Scammell, Henry Faulkner, Ben McCutchinson, Henry Roxburgh, Sam Bowman, Toby Crowther, Oliver Paris, and their cox, Oscar Miller. Big cheer and a nice round of applause for the shore first 8. And congratulations to them on that win. Okay, well, as the shore first 8 head back to their boat, having received their medals, that concludes today's regatta. Thank you all for your attendance, and that concludes our commentary today. Wish everyone a safe trip home. My name's Ian Dunbar, and
I'm Kieran Sabali. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a safe trip home and hope this weather holds out for the weekend.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you next year.